130 kilometres from Townsville. It's expected to make Queensland landfall on Wednesday between Cape Flannery and Cardwell. While it's currently been downgraded to a Category 1 cyclone, it is expected to re-intensify to a Category 2 cyclone. There is significant risk of flash flooding and storm surge, particularly in the parts of Queensland south of Cairns. It will then progress across the Cape, affecting some of the most vulnerable Queensland communities. Now more than ever, it's important to remind people that if the road is flooded, forget it. We will bolster our campaign messaging on the It's Flooded, Forget It campaign. Police have been deployed in preparation. We're standing up evacuation centres in Cooktown, Douglas and in Cairns. Cairns Hospital is preparing for that possible storm surge. It's particularly vulnerable to storm surge being right there on the beach. There's also an aged care centre where health staff are working on possible evacuation plans. 450 Energy Queensland staff have been deployed to Rockhampton, ready to go in afterwards and get the power back on just as quickly as we can. The other message I've got is that over the last year, or since we last had cyclones, a lot of people have moved to Queensland. And so Queenslanders, those of us who've lived here for a long time, we know how to prepare for these natural disasters, but there will be lots of new Queenslanders who maybe aren't as prepared. So if you have neighbours who you know have moved to Queensland recently, just check in on them and make sure that they know how to have their evacuation kit ready, make sure they know what they need to have in their fridge should the cyclone hit their area. I'll go first to the Bureau. Thank you.
Good morning. As of 11 a.m. this morning, we have issued our first tropical cyclone warning for Tropical Cyclone Jasper. So this warning is current from Cooktown to Townsville, but not including Townsville. It does include the towns of Cairns, Innisfail, Palm Island and Wujal Wujal. A warning means that we can expect impacts from this cyclone within 24 hours, and this includes gale force winds. A tropical cyclone watch is also current from Cape Melville to Cooktown, and that extends inland to include Palmerville and Hopevale as well. A watch tells us that we're expecting impacts in those areas within 24 to 48 hours, and that also includes these strong gale force winds. So Tropical Cyclone Jasper is currently a Category 1. We did see it weaken overnight. However, we would like to emphasise that as it moves towards the coast, it is moving into an area where it could see redevelopment and further intensification. So at this stage, the most likely scenario is that we will see a Category 2 crossing the coast sometime on Wednesday. It's important to note that it's not just about the crossing, but there are impacts from cyclones before and after the cyclone crosses. These impacts include gale force winds. So the Bureau currently has a severe weather warning for local damaging winds further south of where we're seeing that watch and warning area, and that includes Bowen and Hamilton Island, where we've already seen some stronger winds over the last few days. Rainfall and flooding is also a very big hazard with tropical cyclones. We have a flood watch current for many catchments in the north, and that is to prepare communities for the potential riverine flooding that we can expect with this tropical cyclone. There are large amounts of rainfall associated with most cyclones, and this cyclone included. There's also a risk of flash flooding. So while we see the riverine flooding usually a little bit slower in the lead time, flash flooding can happen quite quickly and therefore it can be quite dangerous. So this cyclone certainly has the risk of dropping large amounts of rainfall in a very short amount of time, and that's what can lead to flash flooding. Further to those impacts, we've also got the storm tide to consider, so low-lying areas are especially vulnerable as we see the cyclone crossing, so areas near that crossing and just south of that crossing could also see some flooding from storm tide, and as I said, that's more in those lower-lying areas. So really we're asking everyone from the Bureau today to stay up to date. Now that we are in a warning cycle, we will be issuing tropical cyclone warnings every 3 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, DP. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to you all We have also, as well as the State Disaster Coordination Centre, stood up our State Police Operations Centre in Roma Street, in Roma Street, to aid the response. We are about to deploy some 35 to 40 people into the far north. Officers will be going to our vulnerable communities to support the local councils, Hopevale, Yarrabah, Wujal, Cooktown and Douglas Shire at this stage. We have additional general duties staff going into Cooktown, Wujal and Hopevale in preparation for the response, additional police going into Mareeba, as well as additional police going forward to assist with the evacuation centres, which at this stage are planned for Cooktown, the Douglas Shire and also Cairns. High visibility patrols will remain a priority as we lead into the response, and as the BOM has indicated, the warnings will come out every 3 hours from here on in. Can I ask people not to panic, but please do listen to authorities? The Deputy Premier touched on this. We do have a lot more people in the state, new people that have not experienced this before, so please be aware. But on top of that, it's school holidays. So we have people on beaches, a lot more people travelling as well. And there will be a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time, which obviously leads to flash flooding. Every time we have a flooding event, we have more fatalities on the road because people drive through flooded waters. So can I please ask that if it's flooded, please forget it. Because as I said, each and every time we go through these events, we expect additional fatalities, and that should not be the case. Thank you.
Good morning. As the State Disaster Coordinator, I can advise that the State Disaster Coordination Centre is now fully activated. Our District Disaster Coordination Centres and our local disaster coordination centres for the affected areas are also fully activated. Now's the time for the community to stay in contact with emergency services. We know that over these holiday periods we have a lot of the community in campgrounds, on beaches, in areas that traditionally you don't get your cyclone updates. So please, now's the time to stay in contact with our emergency messaging. As the Bureau have indicated, there will be cyclone updates every 3 hours, but there's a lot of local messaging from our local coordination centres providing practical advice on what to do in these situations. Please have your emergency kits prepared. Think about now your medication, additional water, food, what you'll need for at least 72 hours in your households. We know that sometimes after these crossings, it takes emergency services up to 72 hours to make the roads safe and make the environment safe for us to support you. So please go out to your chemist, get the medication you need, because they're the sort of things that cause problems. Never drive, walk or ride into our flooded areas. As the Commissioner indicated, every year we see an increase in fatalities, and what that does is it diverts our emergency services away from providing a cyclone and flood response to rescuing people in our waterways. So can I please ask that if you don't need to travel to the northern area at the moment, can you please reconsider your travel just for a few days until we see the area safe? Thank you very much.
Good morning. Fire and Emergency Services have been planning and preparing for the severe weather season for several months now, and the readiness as we move into this cyclone event is being ramped up. We're moving approximately 150 people into the specialist resources into the area over the coming days, and will be in place prior to the arrival of the TC. Can I say there's a few things to that. As much as that resources are in place, we ask that for the community support and engagement in preparing for and working with their neighbours, friends and family to ensure their properties are ready, you stay informed and you respond and heed the warnings that are provided. As much as the north is used to cyclones, the cyclone hasn't impacted that particular area for some time, so we ask for people to take heed. Don't be complacent about what that cyclone may be, because every cyclone is different, and please, in terms of engagement, stay informed, keep engaged with the media and that messaging. Look after your neighbours, and if you don't need to be out and about, please don't be out and about for your safety and for the safety of all first responders. Thank you.
Pete. The Deputy Premier has asked me to elaborate on the power system. Firstly, there is adequate generation for the summer period ahead, but with the cyclone it is very likely there will be interruptions to supply because of vegetation coming into contact with the distribution power system or the transmission system. Loss of power may be one of the first impacts that households and businesses experience. So of course, if you're well versed in those preparations, make sure that you have your fuel, your batteries, your phones charged, etc. As we've heard, agencies are well prepared. They have been planning for scenarios exactly like this for some time. Currently, energy crews are mustering in both Rockhampton and Townsville. We've pre-deployed 450 crew resources into them. 150 Energex crews have left southeast Queensland. We have 100 crew members from the outback of southwest Queensland, plus crews from the Wide Bay and, of course, our locals in the affected region. We're also moving power system resilience kit and emergency restoration kit into the region as well. So that includes mobile generators. They'll be deployed to critical infrastructure though. So think infrastructure like hospitals and mobile telecommunications. There'll also be plans for isolated and vulnerable communities being put in place, but we are well prepared and we encourage Queenslanders in the affected regions to make their preparations for loss of power supply now. Thank you.
Well, good morning. As Acting Police Fire Emergency Services, I'm very impressed as usual with our frontline workers and the preparation that has been prepared for Cyclone Jasper. No doubt the key messages have been explained today. As Queenslanders, we are always aware of the nature that presents itself in weather events. As the Deputy Premier indicated, we are aware of those issues and the effects of cyclones. Therefore, please check in on your neighbours, check on those that are unfamiliar with these sort of weather events. The key messages of if it's flooded, forget it. Do not cross that water, do not attempt to drive through it, do not walk through it, but also stay on top of your key messages that the Bureau will be putting out every 3 hours. Both the Queensland Police Service, Fire Emergency Services have put in additional services into the region, swiftwater rescue teams, SES teams, so there will be adequate people there to assist those that are vulnerable and in need of assistance.
Deputy Premier, I know you want to talk about the cyclone, but Queenslanders also want to know who their next Premier is. Can you confirm that you have the numbers to secure the leadership and see off any challenge from Shannon Fentiman and Cameron Dick?
Look, I understand your interest in that. My focus today is absolutely 100% on the safety of Queenslanders, on making sure we are adequately prepared for the cyclone. So I hope you understand. I'm not going to let this press conference be sidetracked. You all know my position. I issued a statement yesterday. I said that I wanted to be the Premier of this state to deliver better and more focused government. That is my position, and today, more than any other day, delivering that means focusing on the safety of Queenslanders.
What's your respect maybe to those people in far north Queensland facing a possible danger? There are far more Queenslanders in the southeast of the state who have a very keen interest in the leadership of it. Why would you describe that as a sidetrack?
I think everyone in this state, I think every Queenslander will want to know that their emergency services are well prepared to take care of the North Queenslanders who will be affected by that cyclone. That's my job. That's my number one job. You know my position on the other matter. I have been very clear and very upfront about it. But today's press conference and my focus today is on that preparedness for the cyclone and taking care of Queenslanders. That is absolutely what I should be and am focused on today. And I think it...
Deputy Premier, the Premier said yesterday was time for renewal. Do you agree? And why do you want to be the next leader?
As I said in my statement yesterday, Marlena, I am focused, absolutely focused on delivering better, more focused government for Queenslanders. And today, That means focusing on preparedness for this cyclone and taking care of the Queenslanders who will be impacted by it.
Why would you be a better Premier than Shannon Fentiman?
Well, I've outlined what I would do differently, and today that means being absolutely focused on the safety of Queenslanders. That's what I want to demonstrate today, so that Queenslanders can have absolute confidence that their emergency services, that all of our government services are ready for whatever this cyclone throws at us. I think the best case I can put is by demonstrating just how I would lead, and that is how I would lead, with 100% absolute focus on the safety and well-being of Queenslanders.
Politics is all about the numbers.
We might have to move on.
Politics is all about the numbers. A quick yes or no. Are you confident you have the numbers?
Today, I will be focused on ensuring that we have everything in place that we need to keep Queenslanders safe.
Just on the cyclone.
Minister Fentiman or Treasurer Dick backed you in to become the next leader. What do you make of that? How can you be the next Premier if two of the senior members